We all know the war against crypto has officially started, and vice versa, the war against the SEC. As you can see, even the Ripple CTO confirmed it, but that is together with Brian Armstrong and CZ all saying basically the same thing. We have to take this head on. But even though I can sit here talking about these lawsuits for days, hours, weeks, whatever, there have been people that are only focusing on XRP, that are getting some crazy thoughts out there that I have to share with you guys. We're talking crazy price predictions, we're talking crazy adoption, crazy news. So if you are an XRP holder, you have to press the like button, because this video is meant for you to inform you about the current status. Where do we think XRP is gonna go? How high can the price actually go? When will it happen? What are the people saying? That will be covered in this video. To start it off here, Digital Asset Investor is pointing our eyes towards something, and this got a ton of views. Let's take a little bit of a look. There's an individual that goes by the name of Molly Elmore. You can see this was posted yesterday and got 1 million views. What is the fair market value of XRP? This question is more complex than it sounds and led a small group of people on nearly a 2-year journey, picking up more along the way to support the effort. A thread about a white paper, our white paper, to determine the fair market value of XRP. And now, for all of you guys that have been around the channel for a little while, I'll tell you a key word here, and it probably is going to ring a couple of bells. The little capital. If it doesn't ring a bell, don't worry, it will in just a second when we talk about what exactly their price prediction is. I think it's funny. But before I do that, before we talk about the crazy price, let's quickly see what Gary Gensler just said.
Hucksters, fraudsters, scam artists, Ponzi schemes, the public being left in line at the bankruptcy courts. We've seen this story before. Hucksters.
That was Gary Gensler talking about crypto. If you don't think he's got a personal vendetta against our crypto ecosystem, or he's being like controlled, puppet mastered by some, well, elites that I don't know, but I personally am more convinced than ever that this man doesn't have a free will, or he's the most career hungry person. Let's be, keep it PG here. Most career hungry person I've ever seen. I've also seen some people say that the US does not matter. Let's reiterate. For the future and adoption of crypto, the US does not matter at all. Because as I said before, if every exchange goes down, if every country bans it, crypto will survive, it will thrive. But honestly, if we're talking about making a crazy ton of money, it's just a lot easier. And it's the fact that they're trying to block you. If there's one thing in this world that I hate, it's not being free, so to speak. And what the SEC is doing is blocking you from things. That's the one thing that my brain just can't handle. I can't fathom the fact that they're trying to stop you from putting your money where you want, but I'm going on a tirade. I also have got a funny video from Kevin O'Leary that I want you guys to quickly watch, and then we'll start talking about XRP. It's just important that you guys are kept up to date. Otherwise, tomorrow we're gonna see people say, oh, you're covering yesterday's news. This was just in. So let's quickly give it a listen.
And I'm not pulling any punches. If he was working for me, I'd fire him. I'd get somebody else.
You're talking about the head of Coinbase.
Yes, it's over. It's so over, it's almost getting boring. Gensler has told him countless times, no, 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 and no. And everybody hears it except him. So maybe what you do, and you thank him for his great work as a pioneer.
You're supposed to do that if you want something done in Washington.
Well, you take him out behind the barn and you make the swap. You get a new CEO at Coinbase to go back in there and say, let's make a deal. Because look at it this way. If you could walk in right now and say, okay, Gensler, you win. Let's regulate this. Let's call it a security. You get $1 trillion worth of assets for an allocation of just 3% in sovereign wealth. You could open the spigots. You could really make this industry take off and own it domestically. But read the tea leaves, read the room, listen, read Gensler's lips. The answer is no.
Having said that, let's continue our discussion. First, in December of 2020, the SEC filed a lawsuit against Ripple that led to sell-off of XRP and subsequent decrease in market price. In the months that followed, J Valley 2000 noticed unusual details in the case that led him to wonder what was really going on. In Q3 of 2021, Jimmy and the team at Valil decided to send a proposal to the US Central Bank, offering to sell their XRP and that of others who wanted to participate at a subsequently higher price than available on exchanges. The point was to bring attention to the appearance of regulatory capture and a discussion around the implications. Logical questions then arose. If the US had harmed retail holders through their lawsuit, how could one calculate the financial damages? How much did the lawsuit hinder adoption of the XP ledger from its ability to realize its intended use case? If the potential use case had been reached, what would the value of XRP have been? This is when the concept of fair market value entered the discussion and how it differs from the market value. Shortly after, Valil invited a larger group of people to come together, the Confidential Committee. The goal was to unite and to create a plan to address the collusion and harm caused by the SEC. In the fall of 2022, the Confidential Committee formed a smaller valuation committee of people experienced in quantitative and financial valuations. 6 different valuation models were built over the span of several months, and the valuation committee made the decision to share their findings along the way. This was because not all the models were complete at the same time. We can see a couple different ones, or inputs for the models. Oddly, this decision brought substantial criticism. We were learning and publishing what we were learning on Twitter and YouTube as we went along. Some critics felt that we should have waited until we were done. Much to our surprise, the results of our first set of models led new people to step up and contribute additional models. This confirmed we made the right decision. Contrasting the transparency of our process to build in public to the secretive back smoky room process being undertaken by our public servants at the SEC, the effort was expanding. The paper we have released today would have been quite different if we had waited to share what we learned. One misperception around this effort was that the models are price forecasts designed to mislead people or give retail holders a dose of hopium. However, among the people who took the time to really understand the outputs of the model, from the opposite conclusion became evident. The lawsuit cost a lot of people lost a lot of money. Wait a minute. The lawsuit cost a lot of people a lot of money, and the 6 models, which cover a range of specific scenarios, all show the value of XRP would have been substantially higher than it is now had the lawsuit never happened. And to that I'll say, I agree. Had this lawsuit not been here, I personally think what would have happened is it would have basically dribbled along with Ethereum, which means that the all-time high that we saw in 2017, I think it would have tripled that, potentially slightly higher depending on what amount of market cap percentage from Ethereum it could overtake again. So I would say a fair price that XRP would have gotten to is $10 to $12. Those are my thoughts though. Let's continue. So we have here a methodology comparison, store value, and again, different models, I believe, with different ideas or something of the sort. Now, in the timeline of events, the XRP ledger would have been unencumbered by the stigma and confusion around the classification of XRP. It would probably be in the same boat as Algorand, where right now the SEC went after them, but at that point they didn't. The range of simulated output values from the 6 models is very wide. 2 dominant and connected variables have a powerful influence on the price, and we refer to those variables as transaction value and store of value. Both are addressed in great detail throughout the paper, as is the concept of the virtuous cycle, the dynamic relationship between those 2 variables. Now, to our knowledge, and again, this is where prices are going to start flowing onto your screen. And trust me when I say that you should take a little breather right now, you know? If you're a smoker, take a little break. If you're a drinker, take a little drink. If you're a air breather, breathe in a little bit of air because it's about to get pretty wild. And very important, make sure you press that like button. I'll give you 3 seconds. Wait, that's not the best way to count down. I'm my bad. Funny little side note. Do you know that in different places around the world, they start counting from 1 with different fingers? I always start 1 like this, but a lot of people start 1 like this. And perhaps people also start 1 like this. To our knowledge, no other analysis of this scope has been done in the digital asset space. A diverse team with a variety of professional backgrounds came together as volunteers to build a series of quantitative models to understand the value drivers for a digital currency. And so when I said it's pretty crazy, I was not joking around. You can see the different predictions in terms of price for the fair market value per XRP. And it basically ranges from $9.81 to $513,000, with the median value being $12.8 thousand and the mean value being $61,000. Yeah, are you guys seeing what I'm seeing? I'm a little bit at a loss for words because, no, I don't have many words on this. Oh, what's going on? Now, to their defense, David Schwartz, the CTO of Ripple, did explain that XRP can't be dirt cheap. And I've been spending a good amount of time reading different opinions from different people throughout the ages. Again, here's a couple different ideas from a while ago from over the years, because Valil earlier said $10,000 to $35,000 per XRP is not that crazy. So I was kind of reading what people were saying about that, throughout the years. And a lot of people concluded, yeah, it definitely is possible. And let me say, just because something is theoretically speaking possible, it does not necessarily have to actually be something you really discuss. For example, will dolphins, with their high IQ, whatever, eventually be able to overtake the world? It's kind of fun to bring up in a funny little conversation, but it's not, I believe, please prove me wrong on this one. It's not that important of a discussion because it's too far away to be realistic. And with the whole XRP situation, I think if we're speaking of 10, and even, XRP at gold's market cap is like 120 bucks. Even if you're talking to me about those prices, I'll have a good conversation with you because it's within reach. It's feasible, it's understandable. If we're talking about $122,000 per coin, it's a different game we're talking about. We're completely destroying the idea of the US dollar having value. And at that point, I will ask you, why even measure it in US dollars at all? Why not measure it in 1 XRP is 1 XRP, and we just measure how much it could buy? So 1 XRP, for example, is worth a Lamborghini, or actually the opposite way. We value, for example, gold and XRP, everything in XRP at that point, because I assume that the US dollar, euro, whatever, the main currencies we got now don't really work the way we thought they would anymore. Anyway, that's because I've been going through these $35,000 theories for a long time. And the reason I'm talking about it a little bit is because XRP has been in the limelight. There's a lot of things that are happening. This week has been hot with a lot of beautiful and bullish stuff with regards to XRP. But like Panos here says, this is embarrassing not only for the XRP community, but the industry as a whole. Imagine wasting so much time and effort of nonsensical and delusion predictions, models, valuations, instead of doing something actually useful for the ecosystem. At the same time, one of the developers of XRP Labs is saying this is one of the most exciting times for the XRP ledger and the ecosystem. Whilst Flare, by the way, is being absolutely destroyed, people are extremely angry with Hugo from Flare. He earlier said that the XRP ledger has no utility until Flare comes along to basically take XRP up there. He quickly deleted the tweet, but people are angry at him for it. And I said before, didn't really like Hugo, Flare, whatever. I've told this to you guys like a year back when I met them. I think some people at Flare are extremely nice. But I told you, Flare, what they did is take hype from one community and use it to spoon feed you. Whatever. It's not a discussion for today either. Another interesting to note, Jack, or Quad Jack 6RP said, I can guarantee you that most of the people espousing absurd prices and the fact that the XP ledger is going to move all the value around the world. We're again talking about this crazy prediction of 35,000, 120,000, whatever that we just mentioned. Haven't even used the DEX a single time. If we're really the early ones, we have to educate people on how to use one of the most basic ways of moving this value. This is where real value and price action will come from, not from speculators trying to promote their YouTube channels. Okay. The XP Ledger DEX is likely the cleanest trading solution available in crypto, and it's actually built directly into the XP Ledger, accessed via unhosted .exchange and the XUM wallet. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Source of my malarkey. And yeah, in about an hour from now, Mr. Intuitive, I'm not sure I'm not following him actually. Wait a minute. I do like the guy a lot. He's actually a pretty chill dude. I just quickly follow him. Says Trummers Only, episode 2 with Jimmy Valley and Molly Elmore from Valil Capital. $900 to $500,000. What are the damages? And these guys are going to be explaining their side. And I might have to join and just kind of listen in on what exactly they say. Because call me uneducated, please do. I thought that before they were also only going to be releasing this white paper if you paid for it. Is that correct, or was that a different club or whatever that they were supposed to pay for. Because I remember that people turned against them when they decided to charge for it. But I think now everything is free. Oh, I didn't have it show it to you. This is what I wanted to show. Anyway, even on the Vallejo Capital Twitter, I see Linkto, that's a company where you can buy like Ripple stock, etc. Extensive analysis reveals the fair market value of XRP ranges from 3,500 to 22,000. According to comprehensive 2-year research white paper by Vallejo Capital, the study highlights the potential impact on XRP's adoption and much more. And even they are promoting it, which is interesting. Which is really interesting. Why? Yeah, I'm not sure why they did that. And it's actually interesting to me how there's two sides of this, where some people are still saying, no, you just don't get it. This whole theory makes a lot of sense. Coach V here saying people literally don't understand value. Take retail money out of the equation, it means nothing. When you talk about moving trillions of dollars potentially, the price has to be higher. Simple math. Derivatives, real estate, stock market, bonds, banks, the debt. They don't understand utility. They only look at trends and charts. Utility is the league on its own. It's not coming from, oh, I'm going to buy some XRP like they would buy other cryptos. The price will be strictly correlated to the value that runs on the XRP ledger. If every bank decided to use ODL, don't you think the price would be higher? It has to be in order to, I guess, properly function, he would say. It's so interesting how divided the people are over valuations like this. And I really wonder what the average prediction with regard to the XRP price is. And what I mean with that is, if I were to ask, 100 community members, what would the average price that they think XRP deserves to be at right now say? What would they say? As I said before, I personally think XRP's all-time high should have been around $12, but if we're talking like the upper end of where could it have been, whatever, I'm going to say like $24 to $42. I'm just eyeballing some numbers that could have happened, theoretically speaking. However, if we're being realistic here, gold's market cap would have placed XRP at I think like $100-something, 112, 150, I don't remember. Please do correct me if I'm wrong. But if I'm thinking about it from that perspective, then all these prices are way too high for the current time, for the current period. That does not mean, however, that XRP can't ever get there. Please understand that I would never tell you that XRP can't go to a certain valuation. No, that doesn't make sense for me to say. As I've said before, if we're thinking of a scenario where the US dollar, for example, does not exist anymore, well, what type of conversation are we having? At that point, any valuation makes sense because the dollar has lost 99.999% of its value, so $1 has the purchasing power of $0.00001 before. Basically, at that point, you're going to put down $17 million for a piece of bread. Well, yeah, then anything is possible. So I don't think they're thinking about it that far. They're thinking about if you want to transfer everything, it has to be a certain price to be able to encompass it all. But even then, I'm thinking, so would we be able to sell our XRP at those prices as well? Like, why would they just create another coin for the whole buyback theory, etc.? But that might just be my misunderstanding of the situation. I, as of this point, don't think it makes a lot of sense. I will never tell you that some things cannot happen. I will just tell you that I think it's very unlikely and I think it might be malicious to spread this. On the contrary, I will potentially put this on my own ignorance because I'm just not sure exactly what type of thoughts they had, and I'm honestly too lazy to look into it because it sounds too stupid. But perhaps one day I will dive down the rabbit hole again. Even here, Lewis Jackson, doing pretty well on YouTube. He himself even says, I feel like the XRP community are definitely the smartest out there. Amazing work, guys. On the opposite end, I'll take it. I mean, from another perspective, I'm thinking, well, if these guys are going to be the ones fighting to explain to the SEC what the true value of XRP is, and so the damages caused by the SEC will now be measured by this price per XRP, that means we could get a freaking ton of money from the government, which in turn you pay with your tax dollars, but let's just keep it basic, from the SEC as damages, which from that perspective would be really nice. So let's say they are right. Out of all the odds, they were the ones with the correct prediction. I'm loving it. It just doesn't really click for me. But as I'm reading these responses, most people are overwhelmingly excited for this analysis. There are some people that are not, but their overwhelming majority is very happy, which is interesting to say the least. Now, let me know down below, are these people delusional, wishfully thinking? Is this prediction crazy like I think? Or do you think it's actually plausible? Do you think it's fair? Do you think they've done a good job analyzing all this? Again, these are the same people that said $10,000 to $35,000 per XRP was going to happen before, and now they've put their fair value of XRP at, again, between $10, I guess, as a basis, and $500,000. But excluding the two outliers on both sides, you guys can't read, but I can. Values range from $3,500 to $22,000. I actually noticed we have to continue. The initial response to the model outputs was remarkable. The majority of people were appreciative and commended our efforts, while a small minority reacted quite viciously. The critics made false assumptions and drew incorrect conclusions about our motives. This was quite surprising considering our transparency throughout the process. Again, contrasted to the SEC's secretive, deliberative process. Multiple podcast interviews were held that addressed the backstory and goals, regardless of what the various models simulate in terms of potential value. One fact remains unchanged. The years that the XRP ledger has been under the dark cloud of the lawsuit cannot be recovered. I agree. Humans are resilient and can overcome setbacks, but nearly 3 years of lost innovation on the XRP ledger are gone after months of analysis. Now, one thing I will state there again is you can't really state that years of innovation on the XP ledger are gone because the builders can still build. It's just from an institutional perspective that some US-based companies, which in theory should be a very small minority, were not able to participate. But the majority of companies around the world could still build and innovate. And they have been doing that, which is again why Weitze was just saying now that they are very excited for things happening, even though the lawsuit is still ongoing. After months of analysis, discussions, and internal review, the Confidential Committee is pleased to release our paper titled A Comprehensive Approach to Determining the Fair Market Value of XRP. Please read and share widely to help the industry learn more about valuing the new asset class that will play a big role in our upcoming financial system. Okay, the paper itself is pretty interesting to say the least. I've been checking through it for a little bit. And I guess the only thing I will say is check it out before you make any remarks, in the sense of make sure you at least give it a look at their approach, look at their methodology and conclusions, because they've got an interesting way to calculate the XP price time and time again, with, again, different approaches, different assumptions, different everything. And all these models come out with different ideas for the XP price, with, again, very, very wide ranges. And so all I'll say is, give it a little look for yourself since it's free now anyway. There's no very complicated math or anything like that inside this one, so you should be good to go. And I've checked everything out now. I'd say it looks more like an accounting sheet than an analyst sheet, but that's, my thoughts on the matter. At the end of the day, I'm not sure what their goals are. Maybe they're malicious, maybe they're good. I don't care, honestly, either. It's just something that happened and we can react to it. We will never know the truth. And so all I can say is, as I said before, voice your opinion down below. That's about it. Make sure you put the notification bell on, like I've said a couple of times. If something crazy happens, you want to be notified, you can always skip the video, but you can never take back time. So make sure you put the notification bell on. Yeah.